Hi, my name is Teresa, and I'm hopping on here because I recently watched part of a video that has gone very viral on TikTok, and I want to talk about it. So we're going to do that. This is going to be very unscripted. It's going to be my reaction to it. I kind of already know what the content of the video is, so I'm going to be giving my thoughts on it, and my reason for making this video will become clear very quickly. The video is the one that Kallmekris, I believe is how you say her username, made about spicy BookTok. There is something to be said about with her original thumbnail, the use of AI, and I believe that people's response to the video overall, like the general message of the video that people took, is that she's shaming people for what they're reading. And it is valid for you to feel that she is shaming romance readers, because there's definitely an element of that plays into this. And there is definitely an element of just viewing erotica as taboo. And there is something that could be said about how smut is being used instead of erotica, because erotica is considered very taboo, and there are libraries who won't carry it. It gets blocked on Amazon for indie authors who sell it. There is a lot that could be discussed with erotica, but that is not what we're here to do today. So after some backlash, she changed the title of her video and also the thumbnail of her video. So it is now called BookTok is Wild. I honestly do not know what the original title is, and I don't care to find out. That's not what I'm here to talk about. And let's watch, shall we? I am going to be watching this at 2x speed, just because that's what I want to do. And my first ad is Shen Yu. If you don't know, Shen Yun, which is China before communism, it's like a ballet or something along those lines. It is a part of a cult. Don't go support a cult. If you're ever like, oh, that looks like it's going to be a cool show, don't do it.
Or while your girlfriend or wife is nose deep in literature seemingly out of nowhere. So there's only characters also I wrote about the image with sources of 40. He's like, you're gonna have to write naked all the way to my kingdom. My wife's described it, and everybody loves when I say love on this card. Sausage. I'm here to tell you it's probably because of spicy #BookTok. And punctuate each word with a cross. Which is basically just a red hot carnival of lip biting taboo fit. So strap in, or on, I'm sorry, I had to make that joke, it was right there. And we're about to peek under the covers of spicy BookTok. How about you guys, my For You page has been chock full of chili pepper emojis paired with obscure, seemingly innocent book covers and titles that are, spoiler alert, not innocent in the least. In fact, these spicy books that women are losing their undies over might as well require an 18+ verification ID, because my god, there's some...
It should not. Requiring 18+ verification ID is a form of censorship. Look at the Hays Code, the rating system. All of those are directly came from forms of censorship. We should not be doing this for books, because who gets to decide what is appropriate for children? I know who should be able to decide that. Their parents. Rating systems, while informative, ultimately are misguided.
So I actually did pick up a few of these recommended books, and now I am educated and scarred, and scared a little bit, and we're going to get into that. But now some of these books on spicy BookTok aren't too bad. Like, there's some steamy scenes here and there. But the books we're talking about today are the ones that have been just shoved into my face, and that focus less on any sort of plot and just more about getting down and dirty as much as humanly possible, in the most unconventional and forbidden ways, if you will. And I just want to talk...
And with that, if it's not for you, that is okay. And you can still review that book, and that is fine. But giving it this tone that it's scarring to read smut is so puritanical. I get where people are coming from, but for me, it is this tone of censorship that is going on that gets worse.
Talk about why that is and why women are so clearly obsessed with these nutty little page demos. And full disclaimer, this is not meant to shame or offend anybody that enjoys these books. It's your life, not mine. And I, for one, did read the books I'm about to talk about, and I would be lying if I said that I didn't enjoy a little saucy fling here and there, a little saucy fictional fling here and there. So that's just what this video is about. Just getting into it, getting into these books, what they're about, and just really dissecting why that is, you know? 50 Shades of Grey. So E. L. James took her Twilight fan fiction and said, what if Edward wasn't a vampire and instead was a billionaire that had a red room and was into BDSM? Let's be real, this book is basically the gateway drug for 90% of today's slut-obsessed #BookTok community.
So saying that it is like this gateway drug, there's nothing wrong with saying that, I guess, but it is an unsubstantiated claim. I do do not think that there is any way that you can prove that 50 Shades of Grey is how most people who read smut-heavy books got into smut. And having that correlation and saying, like, that's the cause of this can be harmful. People will take that and say, hey, this book, this particular book, leads to people being more promiscuous. I just wish that there was a little bit more care and like actual research put into this video.
And things escalate when Kate insists on a photo shoot and Christian invites Anna for coffee. And that's when we find out he's into the heavy BDSM stuff and it gets weird. And he wants Anna to sign a contract agreeing to all these strict rules, like how much she works out, what she can eat, and when she can or can't even look him in the fucking eye. Just some super healthy boundaries.
50 Shades of Grey has its problems, but to frame it as it gets weird when BDSM steps into the picture is very much kink shaming. And even if that's not your thing, saying it's weird just further makes the subject of sex taboo.
Such. And did I mention that Anna's a virgin? You'll find that a lot in most of these books. Like, these people have a hyperfixation with all these women weighing like 80 pounds and clothes just like barely draping over their shoulders, and that they're just all like these pure virgins that like haven't been touched. They're all the same. Like every one of these I've read, they would describe as all the same, but rather brunette or they're blonde, and there's no between. But this doesn't stop her from diving headfirst.
I do think that is actually a valid criticism of these books, is the lack of diversity in literally every aspect of these women who serve as the female main characters.
It's like, I don't know what it is, but I understand to a certain degree. You know, but like I said before, it's inspired by Twilight fanfiction. 50 Shades of Grey somehow makes vampires look like wholesome role models in comparison. It just, if you haven't read it, I just want to give you some excellent quotes from it. It's like such loving things today. But how long will he want to do this without wanting to beat the crap out of me?
I'm sorry, I have to return to that. They make vampires look wholesome. I mean, if they are Mormon vampires, yeah, they're gonna look wholesome.
If you haven't read it, you can read it. Just don't expect a deep, healthy relationship story if you do. That's all. But seldom do any of these books have healthy relationships in any way, shape, or form. But let me remind you that this book got a 1 out of 5 chili peppers on the spicy scale, according to a lot of BookTok readers.
So, two things here. Look, I forgot the first thing. I'll go to the second thing, see if I remember. So, the spicy scale, I personally don't like it because, one, I don't like the term spice. I don't like the term smut. And those are just personal things. Like, I get it. I grew up when fanfiction was written and we called it lemon and lime. So I get the use of it. But now as I am older, I just feel the need to call these things as they are. And with what you find sexy and enticing in these scenes of erotica is very subjective. So I don't think that a spicy scale really works in these situations. And I also do think that it is good to point out that, as she did, that a lot of the relationships that are portrayed in some of these really popular books are not healthy. How you examine that and how you interpret that for yourself, as long as you acknowledge that there are aspects of these relationships that are not healthy, that's fine. Continue reading it. Like, that's great. It's when it's romanticized that it becomes an issue.
Brings us to our next book, and that is Icebreaker. Icebreaker is the book that turned figure skating and hockey into hashtag BookTok's favorite slow burn love child. And the hype is unfreaking real. I have seen this book everywhere. Literally everywhere. People love it. And I'm like, I like hockey, and I'm from Canada, but my god, what's the hype about? Also, the cover looks like a kid's cover or something. I was confused, to say the least. But this was actually the first book I saw on spicy BookTok, if you will, and that's just lacking overall in plot for me, and the amount of smut in this book is so unnecessary. And like, based off the cover alone, I wasn't expecting much, but it was a lot. Like 50 Shades, I was like, okay, like it's like maybe more taboo, but they just really piled it in there, and I was shocked.
Which is why these books should be labeled erotica.
There were plenty of characters, but maybe too many. Almost like I kind of got confused while reading it. And they also gave nicknames to everybody on top of the names. I was like, what is going on? Also, I can't put this on stuff.
This is just the literal tiniest nitpick. Her being like, I'm from Canada, I love hockey, and then being like, they give them nicknames, and that's so confusing. It's just like, that is quintessential of hockey culture. What are you talking about?
So I think the only redeeming quality of this book is that the main love story characters actually have like decent communication skills, and there's not a lot of that in these types of books. There's always just like the simple misunderstanding trope where, you know, somebody says something wrong and then the whole climax happens, and it's like, that could have been so simply avoided. At least in here they have decent communication, but that's about it for me. It was just, I knew where it was going the whole time. It didn't surprise me. I mean, shock me. Some of the scenes are very crazy. But some women on TikTok have anointed this as the ultimate sports romance. But it's not just women that are saying this; it's children. Children are reading this book, but it doesn't surprise me given that the cover looks as innocent as Charlotte's Web. Like, I don't understand why or for what purpose this cover looks like that, because it does look like just like a.
These two covers do not look the same. They just do not. And to say that they do is really harmful. We have a obvious girl in Charlotte's Web with a bunch of animals. And then on the other cover, we have two grown adults with one that has a jersey that says university. It's the shorthand for university something Maple Hills. University gives you an idea that these people are over 18, so they're not the same. And it's just this demonization overall of cartoons and animation and that type of style that society has labeled just for children when it's not just for children. And to say it is playing into this whole thing that Moms for Liberty and other censorship groups want you to buy into so that they can ban these books.
Yeah, like I don't understand why or for what purpose this cover looks like that, because it does look like just like a Judy Blume book, but it's quite literally just straight up corn. It's corn, but it has literally been found in the children.
It has not. I'm sorry. She goes on to say that it has been found in the children's sections of libraries. That is simply untrue. And then she shows this screenshot for proof that it is. And it's been placed in the wrong section of a Costco book table. Costco employees are not librarians. They don't have the skills to determine this. So Costco isn't even a bookseller. It is not being found in libraries' children's sections. And to say so is so fucked beyond belief. I cannot believe that you said this and then did not edit it out once you realized you could not find any proof that that is true, because it's not true. It is not in kids' sections of libraries. That's misinformation, and that is fuel for book banners.
Children's sections of libraries. I can't even believe it. What's it from?
You can't believe it because it's not true.
And how old is she? And here's some excerpts.
One TikTok of a child saying that their friend reads it. And if their parent knows, then guess what? It's fucking fine.
Just give you a taste of what 10-year-olds are reading. Do I need to get on my knees and beg you, Anastasia? Is that what you want? She shakes her head and laughs. The only time I ever want to see Roman on his knees is in front of me. It is when his face is between my legs. So no, I don't want you to beg me. The thought of a little kid reading that. And I also...
The thought of a little kid reading that is not happening widely. It's not happening widely. And if it is, and if a parent has a problem with it, that is between the child and the parent. It is not between anyone else.
Privy to the fact that there's an entire hockey smut masking his children's novel subgenre with unbearably automatic.
There is not.
This book is called Birthday Girl. I'll say this.
And now we're in the part of the video that I have not watched. I am so mad about the Icebreaker stuff. It is unbelievable. Yeah, Penelope Douglas's stuff is not for me.
It sounds like super innocent fun, but this one is definitely getting into some questionable, almost illegal waters, okay? It is an age gap romance featuring a teenage girl and her boyfriend's father. Baby, I think that's what I meant about this in a one-hand book. You don't need both of your hands free. Oh.
Not Kiera Lewis, come on.
More she's becoming a part of me, but we're not free to get into this. She's 19. I'm 38, and her boyfriend's father, unfortunately, they both just moved into my
Wall issues 1938, 2 adults.
house. 1938, that's a lot, especially when you were just 18 a day ago before you moved into this house. Anyway.
Like, yes, I am personally not a fan of that. I think power dynamics in that situation is off the charts, and it would be rife for manipulation. Because 19 is still a teen. It's in the name. But this isn't...
The novel, it was a page turner. I enjoyed parts of it, but the forbidden love trope, once again, is just like, it falls flat because it's just like creepy. It's just a big creepy. Especially when she just reverts back to that like teenager self. It just feels like this guy's taking advantage of her, I guess, and it feels yucky to me personally. Time I see a father figure romance, I feel like I need to schedule a therapy session after, you know. But I also can deny that it can be entertaining. Let's just not make it the blueprint for real life relationships.
Overall, that review was fine.
Credence. This is another book by Penelope Douglas. Penelope Douglas wrote the book before Birthday Girl. It's so messed up. I love it. Oh girl, I can't even pronounce her name. The main chicken is Wilson.
Stop using her.
So, and in reading it more and more, it just kind of got worse and worse for me, because there is consensual scenes, obviously, lots of them, but also lately not, and with four cousins, if you catch my drift. And then there's just like manipulation. It's all just kind of sad. Like, I just kind of felt like, oh, the whole time. There are parts of the book I think a lot of people can relate to. I understand why people like it to a certain degree, but then it's just too dumb to even remember those parts for me because of all the other shit that happens. So basically, in my humble opinion, anyone praising this book probably needs to schedule in some bi-weekly therapy appointments, if you catch my drift. And here's some crazy quotes. I'm getting back up.
That was an unnecessary dig. While I honestly agree with most of her review, people process trauma that they themselves have been through in very different ways. And so maybe they're not comfortable with therapy yet, and books are the way that they process that trauma. I know it was for me when I was growing up, and that is what books are meant to do. You're meant to connect to them. They're windows, doors, and mirrors. As I heard from a lecture that I watched on YouTube, and I cannot remember the lecturer's name, but it is very insightful into book censorship and what books mean to people and the current culture war. And it was also about the election as well. But don't make digs at people for what they're reading. You have no idea why they're reading the things that they are.
Anyway, this is one for the freaky deaky thrill seekers who enjoy crossing the lines fictionally. Do what you want, boo. But I'm gonna rate it a 1 out of 5 questionable family reunions. Next,
if you actually want to watch a review of Credence that is super insightful, I recommend, I know Natalie from Weirdo Book Club has at least part one up while I am filming this of her review of Credence, and there is another whose name I am unfortunately forgetting. She has short, brown, wavy hair, big, glorious glasses, and on TikTok, she used to do a tier list of if she thought the couples in romance books would make it after the story has ended. And I cannot remember her name, but she also has a very, very good video on Credence.
and last. So finally, last and certainly least, a true crime psychological analysis deep dive worthy book masking itself as a dark romance novel. 24,690. Sounds like Midnight Number, doesn't it? Now I have no rights. I have no say. My feelings and well-being are meaningless. Escape is impossible, but I have nothing left to lose. To stand any chance of survival, I must give my life as collateral to the highest bidder.
Now, I haven't ever heard of this book, but just I feel that there would be very good analysis from a booktuber about how it is problematic to one use slavery as a story tool in a romance. This could also be a book that is very, who knows, it could be subversive and it could have insight on how the prison system uses inmates as slaves and be this very pro-abolitionist book. But I have a feeling that it is not that, and that we are about to get a very simplistic review of the issues that are in this book.
After reading it, it's just I can't really comprehend how people can praise this book at all. And honestly, it kind of just concerns me more than anything. But I'm going to play devil's advocate and go to the other side of the coin, and I understand that if women and men read and consume these types of books, they just become really desensitized, and it's just kind of natural to keep wanting more and more steamier.
That is the wrong thing to take from this. I think that obviously this has to do with human trafficking and sex slavery. I do think that there is something to say about it having a lack of nuance. I'm not going to make any statements about people who read it because, again, I don't know what they are taking from it or if they are aware of the issues that underlie it. But that is not for me to judge people on. And I don't think that these books are making people desensitized. I think that largely not even like media, fictional media, but I think news media and just seeing, atrocities across the world happen on our screens and then seeing how people in power do nothing about it. I think that that is way more desensitizing than reading it in a book.
When I say I don't want to shame people, I really do mean it. This isn't to shame anyone. No, I like some of these books a lot because literally everybody does this kind of thing to a certain degree, whatever your vice is. So I think it's just about having the wherewithal to know when it's beginning to eat too much and just not letting it rot your brain and affect your outside life. And for me, the book 24,690 was just too much. And again, that's just personally. If it's not too much for you, if you can go about your day, swinging your cane and tip it off your top hat, cool, like that's your shit, dude. But I'm personally gonna give it a negative 5 million out of 5. What the actual? But that's kind of it for my book review. And again, like just reiterating, don't care what you read, do what you want. Let me know what you think of the books down below. I actually would really like to know, and I love hearing the other side of the coin for other people as well. Why you enjoy it? I get it's totally human nature, just kind of like love the forbidden stuff and everything. And if you have any book recommendations, let me know down below. I kind of want to do more book reviews. I like having.
So I do think that it is kind of antithetical to be like, I'm not shaming you for reading what you're reading, while also making jokes aimed at the readers. It is different when you read books and you criticize the contents of it, like the actions that the characters take and the progression of the story. That is different than being like, I think you need therapy if you read this. So I think that that is very important to note. And also a criticism that I have.
Cool, so my mic has died at this point in the video, and I'm going to try to remember this last argument that I had. I believe it was going to be something along the lines of people can read whatever they want. If they want to hate read a book, they can hate read a book. If they want to just read only books that they hate, then that is within their right to do so. I saw during this that people were saying that you should just let people read what they want when they were arguing against this video, but if she wants to continue reading this stuff, she can. I'm just asking that she puts a little bit more thought into her reviews of these books and maybe cater her jokes to not insult the people who read them, but instead provide critique on the actual contents of the book and the actual writing in the book. But yeah, read what you want, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.